couple stories I want to tell. Death is not always clean, right? There's some blood in this picture. This is an honest representation of hunting. A lot of people, avoid getting the blood on their hands and let somebody else butcher the animals for them. But this was a really exciting night. This is my brother-in-law, who never had any experience or real interest in hunting until I started dating his big sister. And I talked to him about hunting, got him excited about it, and he started getting really interested in being outside. And he wanted to go out and scout. This is the property behind their house. He wandered around, found the deer trails, put up his own tree stand. I taught him how to use this muzzle loader, and he went out on his own without me after taking hunter safety and got this doe. And he was so excited about this. And if you give that a click real quick, this is a young man who at the time was working at Wendy's. He was making those Baconators that have like 4 patties and about half a pound of bacon on them. And he was talking about how nasty those burgers were and talking about how he really wanted to get some venison. So this is a young man who at the time is 17 years old. He's starting to get really interested in being out in the woods. He's starting to think about where his food is coming from. And he's starting to build this connection with the land. He gets this deer, and the excitement level is extreme. And what's the first thing that he does? He takes these pictures, this picture specifically, puts it on his Facebook profile to show his friends, look at this. Because he had put in the time scouting, he had put in the time practicing with the firearm, he had put in the time taking a hunter safety class. He had gone out a few times and he had successfully made a great shot on this deer and was really excited to eat the venison. And he got torn apart on Facebook. People are, oh, I can't believe you go out and kill this deer. I'm sure in this room we have a lot of ecologists, right? We know that there is no shortage of deer in the Midwestern United States. This is certainly a sustainably harvested population behind their house. And the amount of disapproval he got from his social friends, his circle, was really pretty surprising. So this is because of the poor job that many hunters do of representing us as a group. If people thought hunter, and rather than thinking a hillbilly with a gun and rackaholic, pee on anti-hunter stuff, if they thought of conservationists, maybe more of his friends would be patting him on the back and not chastising him for wanting to go out and spend time in the woods behind his house. Another example, this picture was taken just a few weeks ago at our Learn to Hunt event. And I'm glad Brendan's here because I'm going to talk about him a little bit. Brendan was another one of our first-time hunters. And he successfully got his first turkey after growing up in a pretty urban background, non-hunting family. Your parents maybe were a little surprised about you going out and trying turkey hunting. Well, Brendan and his mentor, Jacob, took this turkey to Jacob's house, and they were working on turning it from a bird into food. They're getting it skinned out and taking the entrails out of the bird. And one of the neighbors drove by. Give me a clip real quick, Randy. He said, man, what are you doing going out murdering those innocent turkeys in the wild when you can just get a turkey down at the store? It's like, man, if that's really the way people are looking at hunting, we need to either do a huge publicity campaign or throw our hands up and shake our heads in dismay, because we're all laughed. Obviously, this turkey probably lived a nightmare and was ultimately butchered and shipped all over the country to end up at Cops or Woodman's or Piggly Wiggly. And if you look at the nutrition contents, what went into that bird, and compared it to the nutrition contents of this glorious free-range bird, it's not even worth discussing in comparison. So I see hunting as a really great way of connecting people to the land. Maybe you can't see this down here. I recognize 100% there are a heck of a lot of ways to connect people to the land. In my experience, hunting is one of the most personal and intimate ways because you're feeding yourself through a well-managed and well-cared-for ecosystem. And there's not much more personal than the food we put in our own bodies. So, kids getting out there catching tadpoles, fantastic. Maybe you can call that tadpole. Bird watching, you know, there's a whole litany of ways for people to develop these connections. Building forts, you know, when I was a kid, I didn't even start hunting until I was, 16, 17 years old. When I was a kid, I loved to be out there building forts, planting a garden, canoeing. I mean, planting a garden is one of the best. It's so, how miraculous is it? You take a little seed, put it in the dirt, sprinkle some water on it, let the sun do its thing, and all of a sudden you've got a bunch of delicious tomatoes. That should blow every kid's mind and help them, have more of an appreciation for the whole workings of our world. But there are many obstacles stunting our seedling stewards. Say that 10 times fast. One of the biggest ones is the ever-urbanizing world. Less than 100 years ago, we had the majority of our population living in rural places. Kids, our grandparents, our parents, if they were inside, somebody was probably kicking them in the pants and telling them, get out there, enjoy the day. I'll see you at dinner time. I'll ring the dinner bell when it's time for you to be home. But with now the majority of our people living in urban centers, it's tough to access those places where you can get away with it. We've got huge time constraints on young people's schedules now. After school soccer practice, ballet, you name it. These kids have more pressing schedules than some of us. And then, a lot of time spent in front of the boob tube, for sure. So how are they going to develop a connection to and respect for the natural world? Animal Planet. Sit in front of the TV. This is good. This is all right. It's not great. It's all right. They're learning about these animals that are fascinating and charismatic, many of which live far away from where they live. But I would confidently say this is not a substitute for getting out knee-deep in the muck and chasing around garter snakes and toads and tadpoles.